Hello, this is Stephen from Open Square, and
hi, I'm Juliet from Open Square.
And if she can stop laughing in this video, we're actually going to talk about quite a difficult subject today, which is how do you translate a bad decision from the leadership, from the CEO, from your organisation to your team? So they've taken a call or a decision of direction or decided to implement something or do something which at least your team, but probably you as well, think is a bit bonkers. What do you do?
Good question. I think it really depends what the decision is, how catastrophic it is in their world, because there'll be different levels, won't there? So it really depends what it is. If it's something you just don't like, then sometimes, unfortunately, that's part and parcel of being in a large organisation. And
you have to convey that decision to your team,
because if it's a consensus decision, 4 out of 5 people have voted for it or discussed it, then you can't always like the decisions. So how would you translate that to a team? Honesty, the best policy?
That's what I was about to say. Well, so you go full into your team and say, that lot have made us do this.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, boys and girls.
It's a bit rubbish.
Or do you go in on the other foot and say, we're going this way? Which camp do you take?
Personally, I think it's important to try and find the positive, whatever it thinks, because whatever happens, if the company decision is that, then you really don't want to upset your team and they're going to go, oh, I'm really not happy with this. And then you've got lots more issues than you had thought of in the first place. So, depending on what it is trying to make it more palatable.
Yeah.
With some honesty, it is what it is. It really depends on the decision, doesn't it? But sitting down with your team and explaining it and working out the best course of action for it.
I'd be tempted to think about it in terms of objections. So if you were trying to sell a product or a service, it's pretty normal, of course, that you handle some objections up front. If the decision that's just been made is going to be objected to by your team, what can you do to soften that punch? You may not be able to do anything, but what could you do? So it might be we've made the decision to stop, a controversial one, we're going to stop overtime payments. Right? Because we're paying a load of overtime into this team and so on, so what are we going to do instead? Well, here's a question, what can you do? What flex have you got? What's within your power to help? Can you support with flexible working? Can you do something else that allows it to not just be a straight decision through, which demonstrates that you're in support of your team, demonstrates that you care for their well-being and their welfare, and ask for their thoughts on that. So this is the decision of the organisation. Be honest. There's nothing that we can do about it. That's where we're going as a company. That's the situation. I know that you're going to be worried about these components of it. I've got a couple of ideas. Can we talk about it? How can we flex and bend and work as a team to support it? I think the mistake would always be to forget that your team is made of humans and individuals too. And not allow them to voice their angst, their concern.
And if you already have that respect in your team, so you work well with your team, you're a solid leader, they're giving you some great feedback and vice versa, then hopefully it'll be a lot easier. If you don't have that relationship with that team, it's going to be much more difficult.
Sometimes, and I regret that it will come to it, you might even be in a situation where you've got a particular individual that you need to almost take to one side and be frank with, that if they're still being disruptive about the decision, be laid on the line, really. That's the decision of the organisation. With your team, you've done everything you possibly can to work with it. And if you believe that you want to do something about that decision in the future, you can talk about the work you're going to do to campaign. But finally, they've got a choice. We're all individuals. So if they really can't work under those circumstances, then they've got their choices. They can look at other teams, other organisations. And you may, as a leader, need to have that conversation. And in fact, I'd encourage you to do that with people that are being disruptive. not because you're afraid, or rather you don't want to help them, but perhaps because you do. They can't see past the trees right in front of them and can't get there. So let's just try some picks and bits up on there. How do you communicate the bad decision from above to your team with some sensitivity, really? A bit of honesty about where it's coming from. If you understand the reasons behind the decision, then at least make sure that that's clear. Whether
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing worse than saying, I don't know, that's just them, they've made a decision.
Yeah, certainly don't be partisan. Try your level best to avoid that. Give your team plenty of time to voice their concerns, disappointment, whatever that needs to be. Go through that period and continue to be the flag bearer and supporter of that team. And then finally, if there are people that are really just won't let go of the thing, sometimes you've got nothing left to do but just to have a straight conversation with them. And
I think maybe a final point is, whatever that decision is and however you feel about it, is own it. You will get much more credibility as a leader if you are in there with the team, explaining it, sharing their pain and their journey with them, and then coming out the other end.
Yeah.
Rather than getting someone else to deliver that message or going in with someone else.
Cool. Thank you very much for the question. Tricky one. We wish you luck in whatever situation you're really in right now. If you'd like us to talk about more about that, or indeed any other subject associated with leadership, then please put a message in the comments. Contact Juliet or I, and you may well feature in a future video that we do. But for now, we'll say thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.